Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another episode of Total Breakdown. This one was sent in by Lucarelli, who leads the Empire in a battle against Middenland, led by Chosen. The Empire arrives on the battlefield led by Volkmar the Grim, 5 units of halberdiers, 4 ranked up to rank 4, 1 ranked up to rank 3, Sigmar's Sons, 2 units of greatswords, a unit of demigryph knights with halberds, a unit of outriders with grenade launchers, and a mortar. Middenland arrives with Boris Todbringer in charge with an Amber Wizard, 4 units of spearmen with shields, 3 units of swordsmen, 2 units of greatswords, 2 units of handgunners, 2 units of Empire Knights, and a unit of Hellstorm Rocket Battery. Alright, first things first, we're going to talk about layouts, and they are pretty simple from both sides of the field. The Empire, of course, outnumbered here, but they will try and hold their ground. We've got the halberdiers forming the front line. Right behind them we have the greatswords as well as Sigmar's Sons, able to dive in and support wherever necessary. And then behind them we have Volkmar on his little chariot, willing to crush and push through any enemy opposition. We've got the demigryph knights with halberds to the side here, and the mortar willing to chill back and open fire from a distance as artillery does. These guys will be able to come in from the flanks as necessary, try and protect whatever needs protecting, and meanwhile we have the outriders with grenade launchers off to the side here, wanting to sneak in when lines do engage to fire from a distance, from an angle unobstructed. So I guess the hope was for the engagement to take place somewhere along these lines so that these guys would be able to come in from the side and pop shots off from the rear. Meanwhile, as the artillery begins to fire from both sides of the field, Middenland has come in with a front line consisting largely of spearmen with shields. Off to one side, we have 2 units of swordsmen. Off to this side over here, we have another unit of swordsmen. So potentially trying to flank in and come in from the sides as the spearmen hold the front in place. Right behind them, we have the greatswords. And up in the air, we have, of course, Boris Todbringer. And then back here, we've got the handgunners. They will have obstructed shots once lines meet, so hopefully some interesting plans there. And of course, at the back, we have the Hellstorm Rocket Battery trying to get shots off nice and early. Meanwhile, at either flank, trying to hide them in the forest, but unfortunately they weren't actually positioned in a way that would hide them in the woods. They were actually hidden because of the terrain. But we have the Empire Knights off to the sides. Obviously the hope here as well was to come in perhaps from the flanks, in between either of these terrain features or from the rear, but obviously as the enemy army is revealed, it's quite clear that the enemy artillery is going to be a potent target. Now, right away you'll see both armies are moving forward. I think ideally both would engage over here. From either army, the ideal engagement would be in the center, so they both charge forward, and the Empire Knights right away spot the outriders, and they are going to chase them down, and they're not going to have any trouble taking care of them as long as they can catch them. You'll notice again, as the artillery is firing, the Hellstorm Rocket Battery was the target for the mortar, and it was the Sigmar Sons, it looks like, that were being targeted by the rocket battery, and that is a great call because these guys are unbreakable, so it's a good idea to cause as much damage as possible to them early on. You'll notice now that the Empire is firing on some of these spearmen, trying to get some damage done to the front lines before they do meet, and that is a much better call, I would say. The outriders, meanwhile, opening fire with their grenades into this unit of swordsmen, trying to hurt them before they're able to engage as well. Again, great amount of work done there, and you'll see counter charges begin. Everyone is diving into combat, so we've got some great counter charges going on, trying to negate the enemy charge bonus. Trying to get some charge bonus of your own is always a good idea. And as these charges are going down, you'll notice Flock of Doom does hit 4 Empire units, so causing a little bit of damage across these guys, making sure, again, that they're hurt before engagements do begin. Meanwhile, over here, as the grenade launchers get another volley out, the Empire Knights dive in and almost instantly take care of this unit. They are willing to, well, they're not willing to fight, that's for sure. They want to leave. Quite a few of them are dropping instantaneously, but the demigryph Knights, seeing their brethren fall, dive into combat against the Empire Knights, and they're going to cause a lot of hurt to the Empire Knights. Meanwhile, these Empire Knights over here, they've gone all the way through the forest unnoticed perhaps, or unchecked willingly, but they're able to now dive in and take care of the Empire's artillery. Meanwhile, over here, these swordsmen have come around this obstruction and are going to charge in from the rear. Volkmar, you can see, is going to pierce through this little gap here and engage whatever he can engage, going to dive through some of these handgunners and cause some harassment. You'll notice also we have a little bit of a buff going down. It is the Grand Shield of Faith, providing some damage resistance to anyone within that region. I would also like to point out just a bit of a flaw in this placement. The handgunners, especially these ones, are barely able to open shots off. You'll notice every once in a while A handful of units to the side over here can shoot into this engagement, but the rest of them can't open fire as they are obstructed. Now, on the user interface, they wouldn't have been shown as obstructed, but that's why it's important to actually take a look at what's going on. Now, in the meanwhile, while these Empire Knights are being taken care of, and in the rear here, while the Empire artillery is no longer able to fire, almost immediately taken care of, another Flock of Doom goes down on the left flank. Good call there. The right flank is seemingly taken care of. The Empire is heavily outnumbered there and surrounded, and it's the left flank that needs some support. So Flock of Doom goes down there, trying to cause as much damage as possible. And important to note, Middenland should have actually stopped firing with its artillery, because those rockets are actually doing more damage to friendly units than to enemy units. So a bit of a bad call there. Should have stopped firing. And you'll notice these Demigryph Knights take care of the Empire Knights, and as soon as they do, they reassign themselves, dive into the center here. Now Boris makes a huge mistake. Dives in to try and take care of Volkmar the Grim, who has the Grand Hammer of Sigmar. So he's actually increased his melee attack significantly, and the Demigryph Knights with halberds, anti-large as they are, come diving in to fight Boris as well. So that is a bad situation for Boris to be in. And you'll notice over here, meanwhile, these Empire Knights are coming in with a nice rear charge. They're going to get a fair amount of damage in. That rocket battery does some damage to the Empire, but also some damage to the spearmen with shields. And there's the rear charge, doing a fair amount of morale damage and a fair amount of physical damage as well. So good idea there, bringing them in. Always good to cycle charge them, pull them away almost instantaneously, especially since there's some halberdiers in there. But you'll see it doesn't happen quickly enough, and so they are taking some damage. It's okay though, the rear charge obviously does a lot of work, and you'll notice over here, Boris already taken care of. A matter of a handful of seconds, maybe a minute at most, Boris is on his way out. Flock of Doom there goes down again, causing some more damage, but that left flank is all but lost for Middenland, and there goes Boris, shattered and completely defeated. The Empire Knights, they do back away, and they come in for another cycle charge. Meanwhile, these handgunners, completely useless, unable to fire into this situation here. Volkmar comes in, kills a few of them, dives into this melee engagement, killing a few of Middenland's, well, I wouldn't call them the finest, killing a few of Middenland's swordsmen and great swords, and then again just sort of pushing through, pushing out, because as a chariot you can cause a lot of damage. Now, a little stuck in there, unfortunately, but might have been intentional, because that bombardment comes down and causes a fair amount of morale damage. Again, bombardment spells aren't necessarily the strongest, but no cost of magic there, of course, because that is an ability of Volkmar's. Another Flock of Doom goes down now at this massive clump, causing a little bit of damage, but honestly, it is too little too late. And these handgunners now trying to get involved, opening fire at these halberdiers here, trying to cause some damage. Meanwhile, back here, the Demigryph Knights decided to penetrate through everything and take care of the Hellstorm rocket battery. In some ways, that might have actually helped Middenland, because that artillery was killing more of Middenland's own. Now, this massive clump of Empire units is just able to chase down the enemy wherever it chooses to. Over here, Volkmar is chasing down these guys, and as this engagement begins, Middenland decides, you know what, now is not the time to fight. The Empire Knights do dive through, kill a couple of the Empire's folks, but ultimately they do give up, and it is a close victory for the Empire. And this battle really showcases quality versus quantity. Middenland had the larger army, but the units were not the best equipped for the task at hand. Empire Knights stood no chance against the potential appearance of Demigryph Knights on the battlefield, and you should always expect Demigryph Knights with halberds if you're up against the Empire. Meanwhile, the Middenland rocket battery actually spent more time killing friends rather than foes. Also, the Empire was able to hold its lines and systematically wipe out any threats posed by Middenland. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content, and keep sending in your battle replays. I do think this is one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to see more great battles from the community, especially now that there are custom maps to fight them on as well. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.